Hey guys, you're watching the Dota Weekly Show, your source of news, mechanics, and whatever else that's interesting. This week we're going to be talking about ESWC and the group stage winners. Secondly, we're going to be talking about a one-day Dota tournament that's going to give out $400 in cash prizes. For the mechanics, we're going to talk about Evasion and mischance in general. Lastly, for the interesting happening, I'll talk about a show match between Luminous and Dota2 Cass, and finally give a little bit more information about the 1-a-week beta key giveaway, the answer to the riddle, and also a new riddle for you guys for a chance to win that beta key. So without further ado, this is the Dota Weekly Show.
It's a Dota Weekly Show.
Yay! Hey guys, today's October 23rd, 2011. I'm Luminous, your host for the Dota Weekly Show, and let's get right into the news. If you haven't heard, ESWC is currently ongoing in Paris right now. Of course, the game of choice is Dota 2, and this is actually day 2 now. Day 2 just finished for ESWC, and there's some very, very surprising victors so far in day 1 and day 2. So in day 1, we had a group between Moscow 5, eHome, and Monkey Business, and some other teams. And it was Monkey Business that 4-0 the entire group, going undefeated. Not too unexpected because they're kind of on fire lately. And eHome barely making out a group, just edging out M5 just by a bit. M5 sadly did not make it out of group stage, but they lost a pretty tough game against eHome, and that was a deciding factor that made eHome advance. And M5's kind of, going home fishing. In day 2, we had a group between Navi, Orange Esport, 4GL, and some other teams. And believe it or not, it was 4GL that 4-0'd the group. I know, right? The Serbians 4-0'd the group, beating out Navi, beating out Orange, which were kind of like the expected winners of the group. Orange went 1-3 as a record, so that was actually rather kind of a subpar performance. Navi is the second seed out of the group. So tomorrow for ESWC, we're going to be seeing Monkey Business versus Navi in a best of 3. And also eHome versus 4GL in a best of 3. So those matches are going to be exceptional. If you want to catch a stream, I believe Join Dota is going to be streaming, as well as various other casters are restreaming off Join Dota stream. So you could pick your, pick your gravy. Is that the saying? Yeah. So you can pick whoever you want to watch. And that's pretty much for ESWC coverage. Of course, once the replay come out, we will decide, by we I mean Dota commentators, we'll decide whether we want to cast the game, because it is Dota 2, and not gonna lie, I'm not too big a fan of Dota 2 right now because there's so much Dota 1 stuff going on. So we'll keep you posted in terms of whether we'll be casting ESWC matches. Most likely we are, but there is an off chance that we might not. So I'll keep you posted. Second big piece of news is the Cassio Cup. You might be thinking, what is the Cassio Cup? Well, there's a link in the description box. You can check it out. But the Cassio Cup is going to be a one-day tournament that's going to be happening every single month. We'll try to make it so. And, of course, it's going to be presented by DotaCommentaries.com. So the prize payout is going to be $400 to the first prize winner, and that's it. That's it. So it's a winner-takes-all kind of tournament. It's one-day cup, and we're inviting the top 16 teams, top 16 Euro teams. And we got some pretty big names already, is already interested in the tournament. Monkey Business is one, 4GL is one, the 4-0 winners of their respective groups for the ESWC. So them amongst other, really well-known European teams are really looking to attend the Cassio Cup, which is going to be happening on November 6th. It is going to be Luminous and Nebula dual casting it the whole day. Unless Nebula backs off. I'm going to be there for sure, so we're going to be looking forward to some very, very good game. Like I said earlier, we're hoping to make this tournament kind of a legit, each and every month, kind of stable tournament to be there. And we'll see how it goes. And again, I'll keep you guys posted in terms of where it's going to be, what time, and where's the stream that you guys can catch, and etc., etc. So stay tuned for that, and I'll bring you guys more information. Also recommend you to check out GhostGamer or SGgamer.Dota. There's a lot of interviews lately. We had some unexpected news, such as EG picking up a new Dota team, LGD getting sponsored by Razer, so that's pretty big news there as well. So a lot of information out there that you could just read up on if you're interested in that. So without getting too deep into it, let's just leave the news section and go into the mechanics. For this week's mechanic, we'll talk about evasion and mischance. Now, the topic isn't too difficult if you remember two key things. First, evasion does not stack. So if you have a skill or item that gives you a 25% evasion, and then another skill or item gives you a 30% evasion, then basically you will only take into account of the 30% evasion. The higher evasion will just overtake the lower one. It does not stack at all. You don't get a 55% evasion. Secondly, evasion does not use the pseudo-random distribution. Now, if you don't know what the PRD is, I suggest you check out one of my earlier Dota Weekly show where I explain in depth what PRD is. Well, basically is if you have 25% evasion, you really have 25% evasion. There's no any tricky benefits or any tricky things you could do with PRD. So let's just leave it at that. After talking about evasion, let's talk about mischance. There's 3 different ways you can miss an attack. By attacking uphill, by being outside of a motion buffer range. Of course, I'll explain what that is in a moment. And also just being affected by ability or item that will just simply make you miss. So attacking uphill, we're very familiar with that aspect. Basically, when you're down the hill and you're attacking uphill, you have a 25% chance to miss. Now, it doesn't matter if you're range or melee, the chance space miss will be there. So it's going to be 25% for both melee and range as well. Now, what a motion buffer range is, most hero when they're attacking, they have a animation to wind up. Imagine if you think of, let's say, Dragon Knight here, he swings a sword around and he attacks something. And if you imagine in some scenarios where a melee hero try to attack, but if you run away so very quickly with a haste rune or with maximum speed or something like that, their physical attack will miss simply because you're outside of that motion buffer range. Now that happens to range hero as well from time to time. It's a lot more difficult to get that happen, but it does. Now with the melee hero, he will swing the sword or axe or whatever, and he will just get that miss pop up for a melee hero. Whereas for a range hero, he will try to attack, but he will never get the attack off, and he doesn't even show the animation. Both of these will be falling under the motion buffer range mischance. It doesn't happen too much in the game, so let's not worry too much about it. Lastly, what happens the most is having skills and abilities and items that will make you miss. And there's a good list of them. Some of the more noticeable ones in professional gaming is the Crippling Fear and Night from a Night Stalker. And max gives you a 40% chance to miss. Of course, Incapacitating Bite from the Broodmother gives you a 25% chance to miss. And I suppose you could account in, the Panda Drunken Haze and also the basically the evasion that Panda have. Aside from that, there's not too many mischance skills in the professional gaming, so we can't really take too much advantage of it, but it's good to know that they exist. Before I move on to the calculation of evasion and mischance, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Void's Backtrack, and also with any other, let's say, evasion spells or item, let's say Talisman of Evasion. So you might be thinking, well, Void's Backtrack is evasion, and Talisman of Evasion is evasion. So, like Luminous said earlier, evasion does not stack. Normally that is the case, but with Void's Backtrack, it's actually not a evasion-based spell. It's based on trigger healing. And if you're interested in knowing what trigger healing is in full details, I suggest you check back yet another one of my Dota Weekly show where I talk about trigger healing in detail. In simple words, trigger healing basically is you're taking the damage and then you're healing it back. So you're not actually evading anything per se. You're taking it and then you heal it back. So since you're not evading anything, it's not evasion, and then I guess Talisman Evasion will stack, Butterfly will stack, etc, etc. So that's just the small interaction with Void and other evasion based items. Now let's go into the calculation aspect of mischance. I will just put up the formula here for you guys to do. It's actually rather simple to calculate. I don't think I even need to do any calculation for you guys. And that will conclude the mechanic portion of the Dota Weekly show. It's rather simple this week again, and but hope you guys learned something. Alright, so that's it for the mechanics, and here comes the ranting section of the Dota Weekly show. Now before I get to the beta key discussion about the Riddle and whatnot, I'm going to talk about a quick show match between Luminous and Dota2 Cast. If you don't know what Dota2 Cast is, here's an YouTube annotation that you go to the Dota2 Cast channel, and they are predominantly a news show for Dota 2 only. So basically kind of like the Dota Weekly show, the news portion of it, and they do Dota 2 coverage, and they do a pretty good job there, so it's worth checking out. So he and I were kind of thinking of, casting some ESWC game, but because the replay haven't been released, we're like, it's kind of getting late, and ESWC replay, even if they're out, most people have seen the games, so we don't know if we're going to cast it. So instead, I just kind of suggested, why don't we just do a viewer's show match you know, a lot to the Viewers game. That was a very popular series when it was kind of on its heyday. So I was like, you know, why don't we do a Viewers game? And, you know, we could play in it, or viewers could play alongside with us, and we'll cast it, and it's going to be a blast. So he agreed to it. He's gathering up his viewers. So I gotta gather up my army as well. So if you're interested in terms of playing the Viewers game, or I guess a viewer show match, do let me know in a PM message on YouTube and title it under like Showmatch. I could play or something. Of course, it's going to be in Dota2, because he's Dota2 cast. So unfortunately, if you don't have a beta key, I'm sorry. But if you have a beta key, hey, let me know in a PM box. So that's it for the viewer show match, and let's go to the riddles. Okay, so this week I'm giving out 2 beta keys. One beta key is going to be given out in terms of a random number generator, and the winner is Extreme Shongyi, whatever, I hope you pronounce Extreme Shongyi. Shongyi. I hope I pronounced your name right. I sent you a PM. If you could respond back to me in 24 hours, that would be great, and I'll have a Dota key waiting for you. If not, then I'll just, you know, do the random number generator again and give it to someone else. And the winner of the riddle, let me explain the riddle first. Okay, a lot of people were guessing a lot of things like Holy Persuasion and Pugland Life Drain. Unfortunately, they are not the right answer. So let's go down line by line in terms of what the riddle meant. Okay, so one frail body, that's kind of obvious. So hero's kind of weak. I was actually thinking about the Venomancer's wards when I said that, because they're pretty weak. You could sort of easily take them down. So one frail body is pointing towards Venomancer's wards. 2 cool, 22-second cooldown. I think a lot of people got that one right, and that was the spawn of a lot of wrong answer. Holy Persuasion or Life Drain and stuff like that. Unfortunately, that was not it. It's going to be the Venomous Scale that is going to give you the 2 cool. The third line was Heaven is 1 away, and that was the Poison Nova, because it leaves you at 1 HP. It does not do fatal damage, and that's kind of self-explanatory. And the last line, people got really creative. People are sending me like Venomous Gale does 200 0.25 magic damage after reduction or something like that. It was not even near that. 5 from 199 or 3 from 1995 is supposed to be read as 3 from 1995, and if you could kind of add or subtract 3, you're going to give you 1992 or 1998, which coincidentally it is the year that Blizzard has released StarCraft. And what is a unit in StarCraft that's also in Dota? It's going to be the Hydralisk or the Venomancer. So all 4 lines of the riddle point towards Venomancer, but the riddle asks you to guess a hero skill, and Venomancer is a hero, not a skill. So, and I gave the hint in my last Dota Weekly show saying, look at the numbers, look at a pattern of numbers. It's going to be numbers, but there's also going to be a distraction of numbers. So, if you look at the riddle like this, you notice that there is going to be a pattern of the first word of the first line, second word of the second line, third word of the third line, so on and so forth. And if you diagonally look it down, it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 5. And that is going to be 81 times 15, 81 being 81 damage per second. 15 means the duration of the Poison Nova lasting for 51 seconds, totaling up to 1,215 damage of Poison Nova. So Poison Nova was the correct answer. 2 people got it right. I was rather surprised. I thought no one was going to get it right. I was about to award it to like, he got really close. He kind of explained 3 lines out of 4. But Mr. Chillaxer got the riddle correct. He did not get the 4th line of the riddle correct. Apparently very few people got the StarCraft reference correctly there. But yeah, Mr. Chillaxer explained the 1215, and he earned himself definitely for a beta keys. I received like maybe 300, 400 PMs, and I had to read through all of them. But Mr. Chillaxer was the first winner of the key. So very, very good job by guessing the riddle correctly. And so I won't have a beta key giveaway next week because I gave out 2 this week, but I'll have another 2 key giveaway on Dota Weekly Show 24. Of course, 1 key is going to be given as a random number generator, and the second key is going to be given out, another riddle again. So I hope you guys are ready for this one. Here it is. I'll give you guys a hint once again. You're going to be guessing a hero's skill name, not the hero, just a hero's skill name, and as you could tell by the riddle, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's going to be a pattern again, so look for a pattern. The lines of the riddle will point towards a hero, and you're going to be guessing the skill of that hero. But when you're submitting the answer to me, I want it to be done very specifically, or I will just completely ignore it. Okay, so you're going to be submitting it only to YouTube PM. If I see it in the YouTube comment section, if I see it in a DC message, if I see it on the Facebook, it will automatically be disqualified. I don't even care if you got the right answer. It's going to be disqualified. So don't send it anywhere else except YouTube PM box. That's kind of rule number 1. Rule number 2 is on the title of the PM, put riddle and then the skill you're guessing. Riddle and the skill. If it's not that, I'm not gonna even look at it. Riddle, skill, because I receive so much stuff. It's gonna just make my life easier if you organize it a little bit better. So riddle, and then the skill that you're guessing. And finally, in the body of the PM, actually explain why. Because even if you guess the correct answer, but without explanation, again, I'll ignore it. Because who knows if you made like 4,000 YouTube accounts and just each one gets a random hero skill, then, you know, just by the process of elimination, you'll get everything right. Yeah, so I need explanation, and this one is getting a little bit creative. So let's leave it at that. That's it for the beta key giveaway and everything. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this long Dota Weekly show. And the riddle, I'm looking forward to some creative answers, and I know you guys are definitely capable of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Dota Weekly show for this week. And until next time, as always, this is Luminous signing off. See you guys.